Reese Nicole, one of my very favorite spiritual mentors, I would say. Someone who lived in the early part of the last century, not someone I met, but I've gone to his writings many, many times over the years. But I recently got into something new, which are some of his diaries. And I've been reading, he kept a diary during World War II, at which time he was approximately 60. He was an Englishman. He's a medical doctor who then went on to study with Carl Jung. He became a psychologist and then a spiritual teacher. But this was like towards the end of his life. And, whereas he had fought in World War I. In World War II, he was living in the English countryside. And so that his diaries I just find very compelling and resonant with the experience that I'm having and some of the experiences I'm seeing others have at this time. Because he alternates between these, really sort of precise, beautiful, everyday observations, and often he will deepen them in some particular way, talking about the bigger picture and how it connects to it. But then there are also whole sets of observations about the horribleness of the war and how that is impacting him. And there's just a couple of excerpts from his diaries I noted was that, is it not clear that to develop anything new in oneself, one must succeed in separating oneself from collective influences? And then in the same passage, the dreadful atmosphere of war hangs heavily on me, and one must make a special effort to overcome it every single day, every moment of every day. That's maybe a little over the top, that part, but it just reminded me of this time. I mean, we're not involved in a world war yet, and hopefully we won't be, but the sense of an awful being, a small little boat in an ocean of catastrophe is something that I think is part of what's happening now. It's like the climate disaster, the pandemic, the rage for justice, the breakdown of our political system, living in a failing state, all of those kind of things. It's something that feels very oppressive. And, I just wanted to, I think a historical perspective is very useful for helping us to ground and to locate ourselves in the reality that we're in, which has, some horrible oppressive aspects to it for us personally and for people all over the planet. It's not just us at all. And there also are opportunities. There is an opportunity to connect with a deeper stream of inner strength, I would say. So, in this week's Torah portion, this week's Torah portions, because it's a double portion, it's the last two portions in the book Bamidbar, the book of Numbers. There's a passage in Matot, the first of the two Parshiyot, where Hashem says, now go and make war on the Midianites because the Midianites wronged you in such and such a way. And, 1,000 are taken, or, conscripted, I guess is the word, from each of the tribes. And they go to war with the Midianites, and they have a rousing victory. And then when they come back, Moses has said, don't bring anything back. But they, can't avoid the temptation to bring back the gold and the silver and the this and the that. And there's an angry confrontation between Moses and the returning army. And certain things can be purified by fire, it says, and, all of the certain people have to be slaughtered. I mean, it's really disgusting in a lot of ways. But the part that I wanted to mention in connection with, where we are today is that after all of this other stuff has happened, before the soldiers can come back into the main camp of the Israelites, they have to undergo a purification. And the idea that war creates a tameh, a sort of, you can call it impurity, or I think of it as a destabilized state, where it's in need of purification. So just putting that together with what Nicole says here about every day one must make a special effort to overcome the dreadful atmosphere. I think purification is a useful idea for us. It's like, what do you do? What do I do to purify myself? Do I take a long walk in the forest, forest bathing? Do I do drugs? Do I engage in close conversation with friends? Do I just kind of go into movies or books, or, there are all kinds of different possibilities. But I think that all of us are in a position where that's a really, it sounds kind of like an exalted or abstract thing, purifying my self, purifying my soul or something. But I think it's actually extremely practical. And, in a sense, it probably always is, always has been. But in the atmosphere that we are living in, and just to say that we will continue to be living in for who knows how long. I mean, probably a good long time, if not for the rest of our lives. So it's really important, I think, to take responsibility for developing the practices that can refresh me, reset me, purify me, and developing them, and also, practicing them, doing them, a key point when it comes to practices. So, I'm not one who, I have done a ritual mikveh a few times in my life. That's not really my main practice by any means. But I thought it's an interesting thing to think about. is just whether or not you know go for a purification by water in a ritual sense, or just in taking a shower, or you know, just as a metaphor, the idea of taking a mikveh, that, you know, we do have that in our tradition as something that it's a resource. It's a way of resetting the place we are within ourselves, and of course then resetting the place that we are in regard to the community. You know, it's like one of the I think really pervasive challenges that I certainly experience it in myself, and I'm hearing it and experiencing it in others, many others with whom I'm in contact, is, you know, the question is like, what can I do? What do I do? What should I do? I think we're in a place of where there's a kind of radical self-questioning is just part of what's going on. And I really want to give a, you know, kind of like give kavod to hitbodedut, which is one of the words, one of the terms in Hebrew for meditation. Hitbodedut. Boded means alone, and hitbodedut means that I put myself alone. It's a reflexive. I make myself be alone. So, you know, there, of course, you know, one way, there's a physical way of making oneself alone, you know, sitting on the top of the mountain, or going on a long walk, or just, you know, turning off one's devices and those things. There's all kinds of physical ways of disconnecting from the momentum of one's day-to-day life. And it's really not, you know, strictly speaking, necessary to do anything. I mean, one could conceivably be practicing hitbodedut, you know, while shopping at Trader Joe's or whatever. It's a question of what I'm doing with my attention. If I really am opening up that inner place, and I'm still aware, you know, in other words, one can be in a state of hitbodedut and still be, you know, very aware of and even active in life. But it means that there's something more here. I have an inner sanctum. I have a place that isn't invaded by, you know, daily needs or the oppressive atmosphere of societal upheaval, but that is an inner sanctum. So I think as a way of going into our meditation, I'd like to lead us in the Baruch Hu. You don't need to stand up, although if you wish to, you can. And what we'll do, you know, the not the traditional Baruch Hu, but the Baruch Hu call and response that those of you who've been at Chochmat, which I think is everyone here, I think everyone knows this. So we'll do it a couple of times, and take it to heart. What is, it's the call to prayer, the call to the deeper inner connection, the call to back to presence, the call to being here right now. So, the first part of it's call and response, the last part's all together. So, Bahu, dear one, Shekhinah, holy name. When I call on the light of my soul, when I call from the depths of my soul, when I call on the light from the depths of my soul, I come home. Bahu, dear one, Shekhinah, holy name. When I call on the light of my soul, I come home. Come home. Come home. Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Shekhinah Eloheinu, Shekhinah Achad. Shema Yisrael, Shalom Eloheinu, Shalom